Welcome everyone to our next session, Keen, Igniting a Spark for Future Engineers. Please welcome our presenter, Kyle McMahon from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
Hi everybody. Is everybody, Lauren, are you hearing me okay?
Yes, your audio is great.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hey everybody, like Lauren said, my name is Kyle McMahon. I work for the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. I have worked here for about 5 years now, a little over 5 years, and I have been the Keen statewide coordinator for about 3 years now. So today I want to talk to you about how Keen is igniting a spark for future engineers. But before I get into what we're doing, I kind of want to go back a little bit to tell you what Keen is. So what exactly is Keen? Keen stands for the Kentucky Engineering Exposure Network. Also, before I get too much further, if you have a question, feel free to just ask it. I'm not going to be upset if you interrupt me or anything like that. So please ask, just so you don't forget about a question later on. So Keen was created in 1990. It was originally started within KYTC to help out our engineers so that engineers can learn to communicate in a better way. We want to shed that image that engineers can't communicate into the real world, because it's really important to be able to communicate. If you can't communicate to a group of students just about some fun engineering presentations, then it's going to be really difficult for you to be able to describe to the public a new project, an improvement in their area. Now we're designed to introduce the youth and the students to engineering in a fun and creative way. We want to show them that while not every single math and science class may be the most exciting thing they're learning, it is very critical for them to be able to learn how to do those things so they can do fun things like engineering. Today, Keen is managed and guided by a board of 12 members. These are throughout the state. And we have a Keen district coordinator in each of our districts. We have 12 districts and one coordinator in our central office. So we are covering the entire state of Kentucky. So each district has about 9 to 12 counties, give or take a few, that they are in charge of, and that Keen coordinator is going to be facilitating the presentations for their area. And like I just said, we offer free STEM presentations for schools. We offer it from elementary, grade school, middle school, up to high school, and we also go to college career fairs. So now that I've talked a little bit about what Keen is and what we do, or what we are, what exactly does Keen do? So Keen is really focused on community outreach, and we do that in 2 different ways. So we partner with schools and youth organizations to provide classes and activities in the STEM field. Now, when we're at this, we go about it in 2 different ways. So we have our first way that I'll talk about now is we participate in our middle school, high school, and college career fairs. We even do elementary career fairs, but those are a little bit less often because there's just less career fairs in the elementary schools. When we are at the career fairs, we talk about what civil engineers do, what can you expect to do on a daily basis, what kind of classes and courses are you going to have to take to become an engineer, and then we also promote the great KYTC civil engineering scholarships. So we have 5 listed here: the Civil Engineering Scholarship, the Civil Engineering Technology Scholarship, the Minority Internship Program, the Transportation Mechanic Apprenticeship Program, and the Construction Management Scholarship, which is our newest scholarship. It's also worth up to $59,000. Now, I'll talk about those in detail a little bit later, but like I said, we go about it in a 2-pronged approach. So we have our career fairs, and then we also give school presentations. So these school presentations we normally do from elementary school up to high school. We generally don't do presentations at the college career fairs because those are just more of career fairs. Now, these presentations, we're going to be going through each of them individually, but just a summary of them. We have making a boat from aluminum foil. We have building a bridge out of toothpicks or a Connect building set. Our newest presentation is our locating utilities activity. We have them learn about careers in civil engineering. We do an EnviroScape, which I'll describe exactly what that is here in a bit, but it talks about our erosion, watersheds, and pollution. And then one of our most popular for the younger students is they learn about the snow and ice removal if they have a vehicle school day. Sometimes we bring one of our snow plows to the schools, and the students really, really like that. So going into a bit more of what each of these presentations are, because these are the type of presentations that we can do at the libraries. We can do these as an after-school program based on kind of the age range of the student. So the first one I want to talk about is our aluminum boat. We usually advertise our aluminum boat for pre-K to fourth graders. Now, pre-K obviously is a little, we don't go quite into in-depth, and we go a little bit more in-depth with fourth graders, but this is a great presentation for our younger students. So what we're trying to impress upon the students is about Archimedes' principle. We want to teach them about buoyancy in a fun way. We want to teach them just kind of what it is. We talk about why boats float, why boats don't just sink straight into the water. And then we also talk about how you have a limited number of materials. You don't just have an unlimited amount of materials. So the activity is we talk about buoyancy, we talk about Archimedes, and then we give them a single piece of aluminum foil. And we talk about the engineering process, how first what they need to do is they need to work as a team. They need to figure out first what their boat name is even going to be. Now, that's just a fun way to get them collaborating, but it kind of is how you are with an engineering team or just a team in a workplace. Then they're going to draw the boats, draw a design for how they want their boat to be. So they're kind of they're talking to each other about how they want to make the boat, what things they want, what things they don't. So that design stage, which is critical to any project we have. And then we have them build the piece of aluminum. We have them build the boat out of a piece of aluminum foil. Now we tell them they only have one piece of aluminum foil to impress upon them that when you have a project, you only have limited funds. You can't just go out, like say if we're building a bridge, you can't just buy twice the number of bridge materials, because that would be really inefficient and it would blow your budget out of the water. Then what we do is we then put their boats in we put the aluminum foil boats in a tub of water, and we have coins, and they can put whatever coin they want into the boat, but they can only put the same coin in until we run out of those coins. So we go pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And usually the students end up going with either, they usually end up going with the pennies or the dimes because they weigh less, but we are trying to impress upon them to pick the quarter, because while the quarter may weigh more, the quarter has the most monetary value for it. So it's just a little bit of a critical thinking part of the activity. Now, if we have time, we take the boats out and we talk about what we learned and then what we would do differently. Explain to them this is part of the engineering process. So this aluminum boat is for our younger students. I may have made it sound a little bit more complex, but the students love it, and it's a very simple thing for them to learn. And we go throughout the classroom making and helping them to make sure they have something that they can use. If the boat isn't very good, I try to put the pennies or the quarters in very quickly so that they at least get something in their boat before it sinks. We try to have no boats with holes in it before we start, but no promises on that. So our next presentation I want to talk about is our bridge presentation. Now, our bridge presentation is probably our most popular presentation throughout the state. This one, the age range is about fourth graders up through high school. Now, the high schoolers, we don't usually do the toothpicks and the spice drops. We usually do the Connects Bridge, but this is one of our most popular presentations. So our first part of our presentation, we're talking about different types of bridge materials, what we're building bridges out of, how we use concrete and steel nowadays, but we used to use wood and sometimes still do use wood on some very small bridges. Then we talk about the 5 different types of bridges that you're going to commonly see. So we talk about the most common bridge in the state of Kentucky, the beam and girder bridge. We talk about how compression and tension are used together with the concrete and the steel to make sure those bridges, which you see a lot of times on overpasses with the highway, why the beam and girder bridge works. We talk about our truss bridges. We talk about why there are so many triangles on there, how triangles are the strongest shape that we know of. So we're gonna show them by we have a presentation. We have a thing that basically it's a square and you can push it down really easily, but then when you connect one thing to another, it makes it into two triangles, and suddenly the student can't push down on it anymore. So we impress upon them that triangles are the strongest shape we have and how it distributes the weight evenly throughout the triangle. Then we have our arch bridge. We talk about how tension in the arch shape transports the weight down into the columns. Continue on, we talk about suspension bridges. We talk about how the suspension bridge really relies a lot on a lot of tension in the many steel cables on that bridge to hold up the bridge deck and the car is going to cross it. We talk about cable stay bridges, which is somewhat similar to the suspension bridges. And then we also talk about the weakest point of the bridge. We talk about how the center is the weakest point of the bridge because it's the furthest away from any type of support. So if your weakest point of the bridge cannot hold up, then your whole bridge can't hold up. And then getting into the activity, we have them build a bridge out of a connect set or toothpicks and spice drops. We put the students into teams and then they compete against each other. And this is where the students really, really love this activity because they love to compete against their classmates. They absolutely love it. It really gets them fired up. And again, we talk about the engineering process, about how you first need to talk among your team, then draw something out before you start building. We usually set aside the first 5 minutes of the building period to they have to talk about it and draw it out so that it's not just mass chaos when they start building. Do they always listen? No, but they do have a lot of fun when they're doing it. Then afterwards, we test the bridge. We see what bridge holds the most weight. So for the toothpicks and spice drops, we put pencils along the bridge perpendicular to the deck. And we put them right there at the center of the bridge, which is the weakest point of the bridge. And we can see how many pencils the bridge holds up. And then if they have the connect set, we have a pulley that will tell us how much pressure is on the bridge before it breaks. Again, this is one of our most popular presentations, and we can gear this for as young as fourth graders and all the way up to high schoolers where we can get a little bit more in depth and ask a little bit more of them. Our next type of presentation that I want to talk about is our Enviroscape presentation. This is going to be our one where we talk about the environment. Now, the age range on here says K through fourth grade, but I've gone all the way up to about sixth grade with this presentation, 6th or 7th grade. You can get a lot more in depth, but mainly we do it for our younger students, but you can get a lot more in depth with the older students as well. So what we're trying to teach them in this presentation is about watersheds, which is what you can see on the right. This is a picture, an example of what a watershed looks like. We're trying to teach them that the entire United States everybody's inside a watershed, and when that water hits the ground, if it's not going into the groundwater, all of that water is going to go to one local either stream, river, lake, and then on the coast it could be going towards the ocean. But each one of these, everybody lives, all of our water is going to go to one location. Then we also talk about topography maps, how elevations affect projects. We show them a topography map and we ask them what all the elevation lines mean and how this is going to affect our project, because we want them to think about how we need to look at what our elevations are before we even start a project, because we don't want to have to go through a lake or through a mountain if there is a very easy way and efficient and economical way to get around it. So we want to look at what our elevations look like before we even start, because nobody wants to put a lake right through, or nobody wants to put a river, or a road right through a lake or river without a bridge. Then we talk about pervious versus impervious surfaces. We talk to them about how their school, how the roads, how concrete, sidewalks, those are impervious surfaces. So that is where our pollution is going to be, and that's where the water is not going to go into the ground. We talk about how the pervious surfaces, such as grass, are going to let, for the most part, the water soak into the ground, and that's not going to be runoff. Then that leads into talking about pollution, which is the main point of this presentation, is point versus non-point source pollution. So we give them examples. So point source pollution is one that you can point at. So say that there is a stream that is there's lots of plastic bottles and everything going into a lake. That is the main source of pollution. You can point at that exact stream and say, if we clean up that stream, this lake will be cleared up. So that's what point source pollution is. Non-point source pollution is what we have a lot more of in the world. It comes from a lot of different areas. So we're going to tell them about all the different types of pollution we could have. So it could be oil on the roads. It can be runoff from urban factories. It can be too much pesticides. It can be pet waste that people don't pick up their dog poop. That always gets a good chuckle from the students when I ask them if they pick up their dog poop or not. So once we talk about it, we get into the activity. This is what the Enviroscape looks like. So it's a little mini environment, a little mini town, where it has lots of different areas so that the students can see each of the different aspects of. They can put the pollution down, so they can put in the farm. They can put all the pet waste. They can put pesticides and herbicides onto their grasses. They can put oil on the roads. They can put some sludge down from the factory. And none of that right now is a pollutant. And we have our watershed there at the bottom. It's all slanted towards that very bottom water. And then we have the students, and this is their favorite, but you also have to rein them in, because we give them spray bottles to replicate a rainstorm, and you have to let them know, don't spray their friends, because they love to spray their friends if you don't mention anything. But they spray the board, and then that creates a rainstorm. So then all that pollution is taken to the watershed. And I don't know if you can see, but underneath the board, there is a Tupperware container. And in that Tupperware container, that's where all that water is going to run. And then we bring it up. And usually the pollution that we put down is Kool-Aid or sprinkles or hot chocolate mixture, stuff like that. But it all mixes together to make it looks like a very dark red type of mixture. And you can show them that this is what happens when we don't pick up our pollution, and it shows how watersheds work, because all the water is running towards the one area. Afterwards, we review the types of pollution and then how students can reduce their pollution, such as I just bring up simple things like pick up the dog's poop when they take their dog on a walk, or just not throwing their McDonald's bag out of the window as they're driving, or instead of just throwing it away. So just simple things that the students can do. The students love this one. It's very hands-on. The students just have a blast. They usually are laughing throughout when they're doing the activity. So it's a lot of fun. It gets everybody involved. So this is a great presentation that we have. Moving on, we have our newest presentation, the locating utilities presentation. This one can be done, as you see to the right in the picture. We say 5th to high school, but it can be done younger. But this is probably the presentation where we have to modify it the most based on who we're giving the presentation to. If we're giving it to high school students, we can be pretty in-depth about the engineering principles. But if you're giving it to younger students, you really just kind of want them to kind of learn what underground utilities are. So you don't want to bog them down with really complex engineering principles. So the engineering principles that we're trying to talk about are, what are utilities? Just what are they? So that students know. So like gas, electric, water, just so they know exactly what those things are, where they are coming from, because they're not going to see a lot of them because they're underground. We're going to talk about the various colors. We're going to talk about how if students have ever seen the spray painted lines on the ground, what color, what utility goes with each color, so that they kind of have some fun knowledge that they kind of know about, and it kind of piques their interest to know what that is. Why it's important. We're going to talk about why it's important to locate utilities before you dig. We're going to talk about how if you don't look at what you're going to be, where you're going to be digging, you could possibly hit a utility line, and in certain circumstances that can be a really bad thing. We're going to show a video of somebody hit a water line, and basically there's a human-made geyser because they hit that water line. And then we're going to show how underground utilities are found. As you can see in the picture to the right, the woman who is giving the presentation, she is holding it looks like a stick. It's called a locating wand. And we're going to show the students how to use that. And once we show them how to use it, we're going to go into our activities. And the students are going to be able to use the locator wand to find and mark their underground utilities. We have a box that has 3 sample underground utilities, and the students take markers because it's a dry erase board. And they're going to take markers and they're going to draw X's where the line is going, so they can see where the underground utilities are going, and it kind of replicates what the people do out there to find the underground utilities. So when they're doing this, the students are going to learn how to hear an underground utility, because when they're using that locator wand, it's going to make a certain sound when it goes over top of that utility. They're going to learn how to ground a locator wand. Now, for the younger students, we'll probably just do this ourselves, but for older students, we're going to show them how to do that. They're going to learn how to mark a utility like we talked about, like I just talked about with the X's on the board. Now, our utility locators don't usually use X's, they usually use lines, but it very similar concept. And again, what color goes with each utility, so it may pique their interest and just something that they're going to know about in the future. Moving on to our next one of our most popular presentations, especially for our younger students, is for the vehicle days at school. We don't always have to bring the vehicle. If we're not able to bring the vehicle, then we can still talk about the snow plows. And the students love to talk about the snow plows. So we talk about what a snow and ice truck uses to clear the road. So we talk about the front blade, which is the most visible, how they use that front blade, how they're not going to use that front blade all the time, and when they're going to use it, when they're not going to use it. And then we're going to talk about the salt mixture. We want to impress upon them that it's not just straight salt they're putting down. There is a fine formula that we use based on the temperature, the ground temperature, the air temperature, the ground temperature, to figure out, and then what the forecast is calling for, to figure out what mixture we're going to use. We use different mixtures at every single temperature. And then what roads did they clear first? So we're going to talk about the priorities of roads. We have 3 priorities of roads, and we're going to tell them basically what those priorities are. So I talk about it, how they can know if they're going to get a snow day, about how, like, if you live on a state route, you don't see that state route being cleared, or if you live in a neighborhood and you see that road is cleared, your delay is probably going to be just a delay, not a day off of school. And then we talk to them about how when it gets really cold, the salt doesn't work quite as well. We talk about how the warmer it is, so if it's in the high 20s, like 30 degrees, how that ice, or the salt is going to work a lot better on the snow and ice. And then if we have the truck there, the activity is to see and touch the truck, which who doesn't love a good touch the truck day? So it's an instant popular one with the students. So yeah, that one's always one of our most popular ones when we can do it, especially during the winter when it's on everybody's mind. So, all right, then for career fairs for a middle school to college age, we're going to be talking about careers in civil engineering. So what we're going to be talking to them about is different types of engineering, because just because we're talking about civil engineering doesn't mean we don't want to talk about other types of engineering. I love to talk to everybody about civil engineering, and then my wife is an industrial engineer, so I always like to bring up industrial engineering because I don't feel industrial engineering gets enough shine, because it's a different type of engineering than what you think of when you think of engineering. So I always like to bring up other types of engineering as well. Then I like to talk about the different types of civil engineering, because civil engineering is a pretty broad term, and there are lots of specifics inside of civil engineering, such as an environmental engineer. You can have a transportation engineer, a construction engineer, you can have a plane engineer, you can have a bridge engineer, structural engineer. So lots of different types to figure out if they like construction, they go into construction. If they don't want to be outside all the time, they can possibly go into design. So I like to just bring up there are lots of different types of civil engineering that they can go into. And then I talk to them about how to become a licensed engineer once they leave school, about the experience that they need, what tests are they going to have to take, how much time they're going to probably have to study for those tests, what they're going to have to know, just so they know what they're getting into before they start going to school for engineering. And then if they're in middle school, I like to talk to them about what high school class to take, about how you should you really need to make sure that you're taking eventually some good math and science classes, or just focusing hard in those math and science classes. They don't have to be the AP class, but just do well in your math and science classes. I also like to bring up the fact that the English class isn't brought up quite as much when you think of STEM. You're thinking of your math and science classes, but engineers have to be able to communicate. If we're not able to communicate our ideas, then the public is not going to accept what we have to offer, because we cannot articulate what we want to say to the public about our project. So I want to bring up that English is a very important thing, because I've written more, I have filled out more forms and written more emails about projects than I ever thought I would do when I was in high school. I thought I was getting into something where I could just kind of zone everybody out and I could just do math and science, but it feels like I have to write a lot more emails and then when I get to do math and science, it's a relief. So I just want to make sure that everybody focusing in on their English class, that it's not just something to blow off. And then if they're in high school, I like to talk about what they can expect in college, because I won't shy away from that. Engineering isn't the easiest college course load. You're going to have a lot. You're going to have quite a bit of a course load. I just want to make sure they know what they're getting into, so they're not surprised and overwhelmed when their class schedule comes out and they have calculus, or calculus, chemistry, physics, and stuff like that. So they know what they're getting into and know what they need to take, and kind of know what they can expect once they get into college. I also had to bring up that even though their course load is going to be tough, that they're still going to have a great time in college. I had a great time. I had lots of friends, did lots of things socially, and that's going to look great on your resume. So just to impart on them that it is going to be difficult, but you can still have a very fulfilling college career. Then I talk about civil engineering as a career, what I do on a daily basis, what some of my other coworkers do on a daily basis. And then lastly, I talk about our KYTC scholarships. I really want to emphasize that KYTC has some really good scholarships. If they're thinking about engineering, oops, sorry, there's a question. I was just reading it. Let me, how do I get to that? There we go. Yes, we will. Yes, these are open to adult and non-traditional students. So that is something we're trying to get into more. I know in one of our Eastern Kentucky districts, they were able to get into a community college where it was open to not just college-age students, but it can be adults or non-traditional students. I'll have to look for it. I may be able to send Amy. I know we have a video, a testimonial from one of our engineers here at KYTC that was a non-traditional student and went back to school to get into engineering. So these scholarships are open to anybody who has a passion for engineering. If you want to be an engineer, you can get into these scholarships. So what are these scholarships? So our first scholarship is our civil engineering scholarship. This is probably the one we are known most for, and this is the one that is most visible. So it's a 4 to 5 year scholarship at either U of L, Western Kentucky, or UK. Now, you can start at a different school that's not one of those three for the first about 2 years, but then you will have to transfer to one of those schools because those are accredited state colleges that have engineering at them. The scholarship can be worth up to $59,000. For the freshman and sophomore year, they get $7,200 per semester. And then for their junior and senior year, they get $7,600 per semester. They also it's not guaranteed, but there's a good chance if they want to use the scholarship to get a master's or a graduate degree, such as myself, the scholarship will also extend for another year. The video that was just put into the chat by my colleague Izzy House is that testimonial for one of our non-traditional students who went back to school to become an engineer. So another thing that's great about the civil engineering scholarship is the students will get internships during the summer, or if they're at University of Louisville, they'll get it during their co-op semesters. So how the internships will work is they will either go back to their home district, or it can just be in the district where they're going to school. That is up to them. All the districts really need engineers, so they can go where they want if they want to, as long as there's a job open. And we usually like to have them go into construction for at least one of them, because we think that construction holds a lot of positives to see how the process works. But for the other 2 or 3, they can go into other aspects of engineering. And then after school, if they've completed all the requirements, such as the number of hours and then the required GPA throughout college, they're going to get a guaranteed job placement after graduation. So this is usually in their home district, but if they have another district that they want to work at, they can talk to KYTC, and that can probably be worked out. It may not be worked out in the very first few months, but I know that one of our recent graduates started in my home district, which is up in northern Kentucky, and his fiance is going to Western Kentucky. Still has 1 year left at Western, so he's for a year going to be working in Bowling Green so that he can be closer to his girlfriend before they come back to northern Kentucky. Our next scholarship is our Civil Engineering Technology Scholarship. So this is for our engineering tech. So this is a 2-year scholarship to either Bluegrass or Big Sandy Community and Technical College. So they're going to go there and they're going to get an engineering tech degree so that they can come into the technology series at KYTC. It's going to be worth about $12,000 total, so $3,000 per semester. And they're going to again have guaranteed job placement after graduation in their home district, or work it out with another district so that they can work there. Our newest scholarship is our Construction Management Scholarship. This is the newest one we have been offering. We noticed that we were sort of low on some of our construction management positions, so we thought this would be a great way to get more students that want to go into the construction field to fill the vacancies that we have. So again, it's a 4 to 5 year scholarship where they're going to go to a Kentucky State University that has construction management. So such as, I know EKU has a really great program, but they don't offer civil engineering. So that could be, if they want to go to EKU, they can get their construction management scholarship there. Oh, and Izzy just said, I didn't realize that the tech scholarship actually has been raised from $12,000 to $14,800. So a little bit of an increase. But getting back to the construction management, it's worth, again, $59,000, the same pay structure as the civil engineering scholarship, internships during the summer, and then guaranteed job placement. So for our 3 scholarships there, they all have guaranteed job placement. And you don't have to pay back the scholarship as long as you work for the state for the time that you have the scholarship. So it's not that it's going to be deducted from your pay. You're going to be getting paid while you go to school. You're going to be getting paid during your internships. And then when you get out of school, you're going to be getting paid because it is a regular job. And then we have two programs that we love to talk about. Our minority internship program. This is for our historically disadvantaged minorities, such as women and then other historical minorities. It can be race, it can be sex. It doesn't. We're just trying to overcome the historic disadvantages that those people have felt. So we have a minority internship program. This is for undergraduate and graduate students within Kentucky schools. They can go to school and they can work at the same time, or they can do it during the summer, like our other scholarship program students. Overall, this is going to get them hands-on experience, and they're going to get paid while they're doing it. So this isn't an unpaid internship. This is a paid job that you're going to be getting great experience in various cabinet offices. So then you can turn that experience and you can work for us, or you can take that experience and you can take it into another company. But either way, you're getting valuable experience while you go to school. And then lastly, our transportation mechanic apprenticeship program is a 2-year program where they're going to learn auto and diesel technology. They're going to get up to 2,000 hours combined of schooling and work experience through the Kentucky Community and Technical College systems. At the end of it, they're going to earn a nationally recognized credential with a degree that then they can use, ideally for us, or if something comes up and they take it somewhere else. Overall, they're going to be trained, and they're going to be trained really, really well. So in summary, Keene has 3 aspects to it. We have our career fairs that we go out and do. We have hands-on activities where we're going to be doing a presentation and then a fun activity for our students. And then we're going to be talking about our scholarships. This is going to be at classrooms, it can be at youth groups, camps, and it can be at libraries. So we will go where the students are. Now, what is Keene's vision going into the future? We're trying to inject new excitement into Keene. So this is partially why I'm talking to you all. Hi, Tanya. So usually we like a few weeks, about a few weeks at least, because we have to figure out who can come to the presentation. So if you email us and say, I would like somebody out here in 2 days, there's a good chance that we might not be able to get something out there. We might be able to, but usually we like a few weeks to about 2 months, just a little bit of wiggle room. What dates work for you? What dates work for us? If a whole week works, great. If there is, this can be on any Monday in October or any Monday in November. Just kind of give some options so that we can find some people to come out and give presentations. So in the future, we also want to increase the number of presentations in schools. We're not just limiting this to schools, though. We also want to come out to camps, libraries. So we want to create more awareness for our scholarship programs. So through this and coming to libraries, we really think that this could create more awareness for scholarship programs. Even if we're not giving presentations at the libraries themselves, if we could possibly give a pamphlet outlining what the scholarship is, that would be great. We're just trying to create more awareness so that we are impacting more students, because we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to go to school to study civil engineering if that is what they want to do. We also want to develop new class content. If there is an idea when we're giving a presentation, if you have an idea and you think that might be a good idea, that they can tweak this presentation or do a totally new one, I can't guarantee that we can do everything because it takes a while to develop the presentations and go through everything, but it's definitely something we welcome, and we want to figure out what more we can do, what's more class content that we can have. So what's Keene's vision? Eventually, we want to provide innovation for new tools such as online engineering games and to expand our video library. Students are online more than ever, and we want to go to where the students are. We want to eventually launch a statewide bridge building competition and stimulate engagement. This can be through classrooms competing against classrooms. It can be a general competition where it can be classrooms, library groups, camp groups, all coming together because we can see how popular the bridge presentation is between just in a classroom. So we would love to bring that out on a statewide basis. And then we want to increase our program marketing, such as I'm doing today, putting out more videos, more stuff on social media about Keen, doing webinars or presentations at conferences like this. How can you help us do this? So first, you can facilitate a presentation. So you can either contact your district Keen coordinator, and to do that, you can fill out a contact form, which is on the KYTC Keen website. I'm pretty sure I saw Lauren post that link to the contact form in the chat here earlier in the presentation. So feel free to fill one of those out. It goes to a centralized email, and then we distribute it to wherever. Yes, Lauren's putting it up right now. Thank you, Lauren. Where the contact form goes to a centralized email, and then we send it out to the various districts to where you are, so that more of a local engineer can come out, local engineer or KYTC employee can come out and give the presentation. But I'd say it's still the biggest, the most helpful way to help us is just to spread the word of mouth through social media, talking to people. If you have a friend who's a teacher, a principal, or if you have a friend who has a student and a teacher, and you think they would really love this type of presentation, let them know. Also, have it at your library. Welcome us into the library, and we will do one of these presentations, and just spread the word that you're having this presentation for, and it's going to be this type of age range for the presentation. That is still the best way to spread the word about Keen. Here, that's going to help us ignite a spark in engineering. This QR code on the screen goes to our KYTC Keen website. On there, it's going to talk a little bit more about what Keen is, what we do, the history of it. Has some cool things. We have newsletters on that website about various engineering things, about what we do, and then also has our contact information for how to get a Keen presentation at your local library or school. So if you go to that, I have not, Lauren, I have not reached out to them. I have not heard of that before. Again, this is a great thing about these presentations. We don't know every single avenue that we can go down, so that would be great. Does anybody have any questions? I know I went up to about the time limit, just a few minutes here, but does anybody have any questions for me?
Well, thank you, Kyle. I do have a question while we're waiting for other questions and comments to come in. I do recommend contacting the Science Olympiad folks. In the dark ages, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I used to compete in that. I love that. And there were engineering competitions within that. I think they have a regional competition and then state level. And the nerds who are doing that are the kind of people who would really be interested in all of these topics you've been talking about. My question is, since I believe you're located in the Covington area, are you guys seeing more interest in your programming because of the Brent
Bridge.
Thank you for saying it. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
So yeah, are you seeing more interest because of that? And are there any tie-ins with that project that you guys are planning, since there's a lot of interest in press releases about that?
So I think we are having a little bit more interest in a bridge presentation in Northern Kentucky. It is one of our most popular throughout the state, but everybody in Northern Kentucky knows about the Brent Spence Bridge. I know that a lot, even just the students, they know about the Brent Spence Bridge. The teachers especially know about the Brent Spence Bridge, so they like for us to come in and talk about it because there are so many bridges from Northern Kentucky into Cincinnati, and we've done presentations for various students where we talk about the I'm not sure if everybody's I think everybody's aware the Brent Spence Bridge caught on fire. I think it was November of 2020. And we have a presentation talking about how they repaired that, how they did this so quickly, where they had to put all the truck traffic, where they put all the traffic out in general, because that's where most of the traffic goes if you're for your trucking, and it's the main avenue for people in northern Kentucky to get from Cincinnati to Ohio. Um, the bridge, I will say, since I saw someone say they pray every time they go over the Brent Spence Bridge. The Brent Spence Bridge uh, is fundamentally sound. It's a good bridge. It's very congested, and it's totally more than it was originally meant for. But it is a safe and structurally sound bridge. So do not worry about the Brent Spence Bridge having any type of major catastrophe. It's a very, very good bridge.
All right, duly noted. We do have a question that came in that I want to read for just the benefit of the recording and everyone attending. Nicole says, man, all of this sounds so cool. Agreed. I'm especially looking forward to the games in the future. Are you guys making those yourselves or hiring game studios?
We have not made any inroads yet on that. That is what we want to do. Right now, we have been more focusing on recruitment within KYTC to get more engineers, and outside of KYTC, getting more engineers involved, because we had been a little bit small at one point. So we were asking a few people to do a lot of things. So first, we were working on recruitment. Right now, since we had the recruitment up, we were working on modernizing within Keen. Our contact form is one way that we have modernized everything. Izzy House, who is commenting inside the chat, she has been doing a great job helping us modernize ourselves. So what our goal this year is to get a lot of our presentations on videos, so that our presenters can then go out and give the presentations in a quicker fashion, so that they don't have to be trained quite as long to give the presentations. Once we have those things checked off, we're going to start looking into new things that we could possibly do. So the video game idea has been brought up. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we have a very limited budget, so we have to figure out a best way going forward. So I'm not sure if we would hire a gaming studio. That might be out of our price range.
All right, we have a suggestion from Chelsea. Have you guys thought about having a statewide competition for students to recreate bridges in their counties?
We have not, but with the Connect set, that's actually a pretty good idea. I like that idea. It's tougher with the toothpicks and spice drops, but with the Connect set, that's a pretty cool idea, Chelsea. I like that idea. I've never really thought about that, but it's something I'm gonna write down, and I like that idea.
Excellent. And we've got time for a couple more questions while we're waiting on that. I did just have a suggestion on that contact form. The contact form really makes it look like only schools can request this, because
Okay.
the topics are classroom presentation, career for other, but then this is name of school. And we know that libraries, a lot of times, it's like forms will say schools, but they do mean schools and libraries. But just so someone doesn't think like, oh man, I can't request it because I'm not a school, it might be nice if you change up the language a bit. So
Okay, yeah,
it seems more inclusive.
okay, I'll talk to
Okay.
Yeah, Izzy,
Open to
we'll
you
just have
first.
to make the language a little bit more clear. I hadn't really thought of that before, because before we got in contact with Amy Olson, I hadn't really considered. I know it's very much a blind spot, but I had not considered libraries as much, as I was so focused on schools that I hadn't considered libraries. So
Yeah.
that's
Hey, no
definitely a
worries.
good point, Lauren.
Yeah.
We'll work on that so that people know that it's not just schools.
Okay, well that's cool. That comes up with other options as well. I think like Safari Live is something where It's open to schools and libraries, but the contact form just says schools. And so I'm always having to reach out to be like, okay, do you mean schools and libraries here? Just checking. Another suggestion from Chelsea, you could have a voting poll on Facebook and tag all involved counties in it. This would be a way to spread the word about what you do too. I think that's in regards to that,
Yeah,
recreating
with the
bridges.
bridges, I believe. Yeah, Chelsea, I think it's a good idea. We'll just have to be pretty careful about how we do the Facebook poll. The some of the Facebook comments on our KYTC pages sometimes aren't the nicest, so we'll have to make sure. I don't disagree with you that we have a poll to vote on it, but we'll have to work on how exactly we phrase it so we don't get the goes from a poll voting on the bridges to then a million arguments about the Brent Spence Bridge or something like that. But yeah, it's a good idea, Chelsea. I like that.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all the time we have today, but this has been a phenomenal presentation. I was so glad to learn about it. And I know many libraries are going to be interested in partnering with you guys. So
Well, thank you
before
all
we
for
go,
having me. This has been a blast.
awesome. And then before we go, I do just need to say thank you to the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which provides funding to KDLA through the Grants to States program. We wouldn't be able to offer continuing education opportunities like the Kayak Conference without the support of IMLS. And just as some other comments have come in, Tanya mentions the presentations will be great for homeschool enrichment programs at libraries. Absolutely. And then we've got some thank yous coming into the chat as well. So again, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to future collaborations.
Thanks, guys.